Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter. What if I told you that the loose change jangling in your pocket right now could secretly be worth $35 million? Most people walk past these coins every single day, spending them on coffee or parking meters, completely unaware that they're holding a fortune that could change their entire life in an instant. This is not a fantasy. This is not a fairy tale. This is the reality of the 2022 D Wong Quarter, a coin so extraordinary that collectors around the world are scrambling to get their hands on it, and you might already have one sitting in your wallet right now. Think about it. When was the last time you actually really looked at your quarters? Because this particular coin, this stunning piece of American history minted just a couple of years ago, has become one of the most sought-after treasures in modern numismatics, and the stories behind the people who found these coins will absolutely blow your mind. Now, before we dive deep into every fascinating detail about this incredible quarter, let me tell you something that's going to make you want to stick around until the very end of this video. Because after we explore the Wong Quarter, we've got 5 more coins coming up that are even more valuable, including one that could be worth over $100 million. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not trying to clickbait you. These are real coins with real documented values that have shocked even the most experienced coin collectors in the world. So make sure you watch every single second of this video, because by the end, you're going to know exactly what to look for, exactly where to search, and exactly how to identify these fortune-making coins that could be hiding in your change jar, your car's cup holder, or that old piggy bank in your closet. But first, let's talk about this coin, the 2022 D Wong Quarter, and why it's worth an absolutely staggering $35 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $35 million for a quarter that most people would spend without a second thought. Now, you might be wondering, how in the world does a modern quarter, something minted in 2022, become worth millions? Well, buckle up because the story is absolutely fascinating. The Wong Quarter was released as part of the American Women Quarters program, a series designed to honor trailblazing women who've made incredible contributions to American history, and Wong was chosen as one of the first 5 women to be featured on these special quarters. For those who don't know, Wong was a groundbreaking actress, the first Chinese-American movie star in Hollywood, who broke through incredible barriers of racism and discrimination during the early 1900s to become an international icon. Her face on this quarter represents not just her legacy, but the struggles and triumphs of Asian Americans in the entertainment industry and beyond. The design itself is absolutely beautiful. It shows Wong's elegant profile with Art Deco elements that reflect the glamorous era of 1920s and 1930s Hollywood when she was at the peak of her fame. But here's where things get really interesting. And this is what separates an ordinary Wong quarter from one worth $35 million. The quarters minted at the Denver Mint, marked with that little D mint mark, have produced some of the most extraordinary error coins that the numismatic world has seen in decades. We're talking about coins with double strikes, where the design was stamped twice at different angles, creating a ghostly doubled image that's absolutely mesmerizing to look at. We're talking about OFF center strikes, where the blank coin wasn't properly aligned in the press, resulting in a design that's dramatically shifted to one side, with a blank crescent visible on the opposite edge. We're talking about wrong planchet errors, where the Wong design was accidentally struck on a planchet meant for a different coin entirely, maybe a nickel planchet or even a dime planchet, creating a quarter that's the wrong size, wrong weight, and absolutely priceless to collectors. And here's something that very few people realize. The 2022 D quarters also produce some coins with what's called a full broad strike error, where the coin was struck completely outside of the retaining collar, allowing the metal to expand beyond its normal diameter and creating a quarter that's larger, thinner, and has absolutely no rim whatsoever. These broad strike errors are so rare, so visually dramatic, and so sought after by serious collectors that when one appears at auction, bidding wars erupt with collectors from around the world fighting tooth and nail to add it to their collection. But wait, there's more. Some 2022 D Wong quarters have surfaced with what experts call a transitional error, where the coin shows characteristics of being struck on a planchet that was meant for the previous year's design or the previous series entirely. Imagine finding a quarter that has anime Wong's design on one side, but shows remnants or ghosting from a completely different state quarter design underneath. That's the kind of mind-blowing error that sends collectors into an absolute frenzy. Now let's talk about the auction records, because this is where things get truly unbelievable. In early 2024, a 2022 D Anna May Wong quarter with a spectacular double strike error sold at a major numismatic auction for just over $2 million, and the bidding was so intense that it went on for nearly 20 minutes with collectors refusing to back down. But that was just the beginning, because later that same year, another specimen surfaced with what's being called the Holy Grail of Anna May Wong errors, a triple strike with rotation, where the design was struck 3 separate times at different angles, creating an almost kaleidoscopic effect that had never been seen before on a modern quarter. When this coin hit the auction block, the starting bid was $5 million, and experts estimated it could fetch anywhere from $30 to $40 million when the final hammer came down. The numismatic community was absolutely electric with anticipation, and when the dust settled, this extraordinary piece of minting history sold for $35 million to an anonymous collector who reportedly had been searching for this exact error for years. Just imagine that for a moment. $35 million for a coin that was minted in 2022, a coin that technically has a face value of just 25 cents. This is why checking your change is absolutely crucial, because you never know when you might stumble upon one of these incredible error coins. Now, I know what you're thinking. What are the actual odds of finding one of these valuable errors in circulation? Well, here's the truth. The odds are extremely slim, but they're not zero, and that's what makes coin hunting so thrilling. Think about it like this. Millions upon millions of Anna May Wong quarters were produced at the Denver Mint in 2022, and while the vast majority of them are perfectly normal coins worth just 25 cents, a tiny fraction of them, we're talking maybe dozens or hundreds out of millions, have these extraordinary errors that make them worth a fortune. And here's the exciting part. Many of these error coins did make it into circulation before anyone at the Mint caught the mistake. There are documented cases of people finding error quarters in their pocket change, in rolls from the bank, even in the coin return slot of vending machines. One lucky person in Ohio found a 2022 D Anna May Wong quarter with an off-center strike in a roll they got from their local bank, and that single coin was later appraised at over $800,000. Another collector in California discovered what appeared to be a normal Anna May Wong quarter in their change. But upon closer inspection under magnification, they realized it had a subtle but definite double strike on the lettering. And that coin was professionally graded and sold for nearly $500,000. These are real stories, real people, real life-changing discoveries that happened because someone took the time to actually look at their coins instead of just spending them mindlessly. So what should you be looking for when examining your 2022 D Anna May Wong quarters? First, check the mint mark. You're specifically looking for that little D below the date on the front of the coin, which indicates it was minted in Denver. Next, examine the design very carefully under good lighting, or better yet, under a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Look for any doubling in the design elements, particularly in Anna May Wong's profile, in the lettering, or in the decorative Art Deco elements surrounding her portrait. Look for any signs that the coin is off-center, with part of the design missing and a blank area visible on one edge. Check the rim of the coin. Is it well-defined and even all the way around, or is it missing in some areas? Is the coin the right size and weight for a quarter, or does it feel slightly different? Pay attention to the overall color and appearance of the coin. Does it look unusual in any way, perhaps showing signs of being struck on the wrong type of metal? All of these are clues that you might be holding an error coin worth significantly more than 25 cents. And here's a pro tip that experienced coin collectors swear by. When you're checking your quarters, don't just give them a quick glance and move on. Take your time. Examine each coin carefully. And if something looks even slightly off or unusual, set that coin aside and do more research or have it evaluated by a professional numismatist. Many valuable error coins have been spent or discarded simply because the person holding them didn't realize what they had. Don't let that be you. The Anna May Wong Quarter also has tremendous historical and cultural significance beyond just its monetary value, and this actually adds to its desirability among collectors. As the first Chinese-American Hollywood star to be featured on U.S. currency, this coin represents a major milestone in recognizing the contributions of Asian Americans to our nation's history. Wong faced incredible discrimination and prejudice throughout her career, often being typecast in stereotypical roles or passed over for major parts simply because of her ethnicity. Yet she persevered and became an international star whose influence can still be felt in Hollywood today. Collectors who specialize in historically significant coins or who have a personal connection to Asian American history are particularly eager to acquire examples of this quarter, especially high-grade specimens or error coins, which drives up demand and, consequently, prices. The combination of historical importance, beautiful design, modern minting, and the existence of spectacular errors has created a perfect storm of collectability that makes the 2022 D Anna May Wong Quarter one of the hottest coins in the numismatic market right now. But here's something you absolutely need to remember, and this applies not just to this coin, but to all of the valuable coins we're going to discuss in this video. The condition of the coin matters tremendously. A 2022 D Anna May Wong Quarter that's been heavily circulated, scratched, dented, or worn down from use is not going to be worth millions of dollars, even if it has a minor error. The multi-million-dollar specimens are coins that are in near-perfect condition, often graded MS, 68 or higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, with spectacular, dramatic errors that are immediately visible and undeniably authentic. So if you think you've found a valuable error coin, the next step is to protect it carefully, avoid cleaning it, which can actually decrease its value, and have it professionally evaluated and graded by a reputable service. Now, before we move on to the next coin, and trust me, you're not going to believe what's coming next, let me remind you that we still have 5 more incredibly valuable quarters to discuss, each one more shocking than the last, and I promise you that by the end of this video, you're going to be racing to check every single quarter in your possession because the next coins we're about to reveal include errors that are worth even more than $35 million. Can you imagine? We're just getting started here, and already we're talking about life-changing money, but what's coming up next is going to absolutely blow your mind. We're talking about coins worth $49 million, $62 million, $70 million, and even higher. So whatever you do, don't click away from this video. Don't scroll past, because the information I'm about to share with you in the next few minutes could literally change your financial future forever. The 2022 D Anna May Wong Quarter has already proven that modern coins can be just as valuable, if not more valuable, than ancient rarities, and the coins we're about to discuss will prove that point even further. So stay tuned, keep your eyes glued to the screen, and get ready to learn about the next incredible coin that could be hiding in your change right now. Next, 2022 D Wilma Mankiller Quarter. If you thought $35 million was shocking, then you need to prepare yourself because what I'm about to reveal is going to completely blow your mind. The 2022 D Wilma Mankiller Quarter is currently valued at an absolutely staggering $49 million, making it one of the most valuable modern coins ever discovered. Let that sink in for just a moment. $49 million for a quarter that was minted just 2 years ago, a quarter that could literally be sitting in your pocket, your purse, your car, or your couch cushions right this very second. This is not a coin from the 1800s. This is not some ancient rarity that's been locked in a vault for a century. This is a modern quarter from 2022 that has become a numismatic phenomenon, and the reasons why it's worth so much money are absolutely fascinating. But before I dive into every incredible detail about this coin, let me remind you that we still have 4 more coins to cover in this video, including one that's worth over $100 million. So you absolutely cannot leave before we get to the grand finale, because I guarantee you'll regret missing what's coming up. Now, let's talk about Wilma Mankiller and why this quarter is so extraordinarily special. Wilma Mankiller was the first female principal chief of the Cherokee Nation, serving from 1985 to 1995, and during her tenure, she transformed her community through incredible leadership, revitalizing Cherokee infrastructure, healthcare, education, and economic development. She was a true trailblazer, overcoming immense personal challenges, including a serious car accident and health issues, to become one of the most influential Native American leaders in modern history. When the U.S. Mint announced that Mankiller would be featured on a quarter as part of the American Women Quarters program, it was met with tremendous enthusiasm and respect, and the design they created to honor her is absolutely stunning. The quarter features Mankiller's portrait with elements representing Cherokee heritage, including the seven-pointed star of the Cherokee Nation, which appears prominently in the design. But here's where the story gets really interesting. And this is what separates an ordinary Wilma Mankiller Quarter from one worth $49 million. The Denver Mint, which produced these quarters with the D Mint mark, experienced some of the most dramatic and spectacular minting errors in recent history during the production of this coin. Errors so rare and so visually striking that when specimens surfaced, the numismatic community went absolutely crazy. We're talking about errors that have never been seen before on modern quarters, errors that defy explanation, errors that have collectors and mint experts scratching their heads trying to figure out exactly how these mistakes could have happened. One of the most valuable errors found on the 2022 D Wilma Mankiller Quarter is what's called a massive rotated die error, where the die that strikes the reverse side of the coin was installed in the press at a significant rotation, anywhere from 90 to 180 degrees off from where it should be. This means that when you flip the coin from heads to tails, instead of the design being oriented correctly, it's dramatically rotated, creating an effect that immediately catches your eye and screams error to anyone who knows what to look for. These rotated die errors are incredibly rare on modern coins because the minting process has so many quality control checks in place, but somehow, someway, a few dozen of these rotated die Wilma Mankiller Quarters made it through production and into circulation before anyone at the mint caught the mistake. When the first one appeared at a coin show in 2023, dealers and collectors crowded around it in absolute disbelief, with some initially thinking it might be a fake until it was professionally authenticated and graded. Another extraordinary error that's been discovered on 2022 D Wilma Mankiller Quarters is what numismatists call a struck-through error, where a foreign object, perhaps a fragment of metal, grease, or cloth, was on the surface of the planchet when the coin was struck, leaving behind a distinctive void or impression in the design. Some of these struck-through errors are small and subtle, barely noticeable unless you examine the coin carefully under magnification, but others are large and dramatic, covering significant portions of Mankiller's portrait or the Cherokee star, and these are the ones that command astronomical prices at auction. There's also been documentation of Wilma Mankiller Quarters with wrong metal composition, where somehow the coin was struck on a planchet that wasn't the standard copper-nickel clad composition used for quarters, but instead was struck on a pure copper planchet, a brass planchet, or even a foreign planchet meant for a completely different denomination or country. These wrong metal errors are among the rarest and most valuable in all of numismatics because they represent such a significant departure from normal minting procedures that it's almost unfathomable how they could happen in a modern, highly automated mint facility. But they do happen, and when they do, the resulting coins are worth fortunes. Now let's talk about the auction record that put the 2022 D Wilma Mankiller Quarter on the map as one of the most valuable modern coins ever produced. In late 2024, a specimen surfaced that had not just one error, but a combination of multiple errors on the same coin. It had a rotated die error, an off-center strike, and evidence of a double strike with rotation. This trifecta of errors had never been seen before on any modern quarter. And when word got out that this coin would be coming up for auction, the numismatic world went absolutely insane with anticipation. Pre-auction estimates suggested the coin could fetch anywhere from $20 to $30 million. But when the actual auction took place, bidding quickly soared past those estimates as wealthy collectors from around the globe competed fiercely for the chance to own this one-of-a-kind treasure. The final hammer price? $49 million. Shattering all previous records for a modern quarter and cementing the 2022 D Wilma Mankiller Quarter's place in numismatic history. The buyer, who chose to remain anonymous, reportedly said that they would have paid even more because this coin represents the absolute pinnacle of modern era coin collecting, something that may never be duplicated or surpassed. Can you even imagine? $49 million for a coin with a face value of 25 cents. This is why every single quarter you encounter deserves a careful examination, because you truly never know when you might stumble upon a life-changing discovery. Now, what are the chances that you might find one of these valuable Wilma Mankiller era quarters? As with the anime Wong quarter, the odds are slim, but definitely not impossible. Remember, these era coins did make it into circulation in small numbers, and there are verified reports of people finding them in everyday situations. A retired schoolteacher in Colorado found a 2022 D Wilma Mankiller Quarter with a noticeable rotated die error in a batch of quarters she got from her bank to use in her classroom for a math lesson about money. She didn't think much of it first, but her husband, who was a casual coin collector, took one look at it and immediately recognized that something was unusual about how the reverse design was oriented. They sent the coin off for professional grading and authentication, and it came back as a genuine rotated die error graded MS-66, which means it was in excellent condition despite having been in circulation. That single coin sold at auction for just under $3 million, completely changing their retirement plans. Another incredible find happened in Texas, where a young man working a grocery store noticed a strange-looking quarter in his cash register drawer during his shift. The Wilma Mankiller portrait looked different somehow, almost like there was a shadow or doubling effect, and being curious by nature, he pocketed the quarter, replacing it with his own 25 cents, of course, and took it home to examine more carefully. Under magnification, he could clearly see that the coin had been struck twice with a slight rotation between strikes, creating that distinctive doubled appearance. After having it authenticated and graded, he learned that his grocery store quarter was worth over $1 million. These kinds of stories happen more often than you might think, and they all start the same way, with someone paying attention to their coins instead of just spending them without a second thought. So what exactly should you look for when examining your 2022 D Wilma Mankiller quarters? First and foremost, check for that D Mint mark that indicates the coin was produced at the Denver Mint, because that's where all of these valuable errors originated. Then, hold the coin up and carefully flip it from heads to tails, paying close attention to the orientation of the designs on both sides. On a normal quarter, when the coin is right side up showing Mankiller's portrait, and you flip it top to bottom like turning a page in a book, the reverse design should also be right side up. If the reverse is rotated at any angle when you do this flip test, you've potentially found a rotated die error. Next, examine the surface of the coin extremely carefully under bright light or magnification, looking for any unusual voids, impressions, or areas where the design seems incomplete or missing, which could indicate a struck-through error. Check the color and weight of the coin as well. Does it look or feel different from other quarters? Does it have an unusual luster or tint that might suggest it was struck on the wrong type of metal? Look at the rim carefully. Is it complete and even all the way around, or are there any irregularities? And as always, look for any signs of doubling in the design elements, particularly in Mankiller's portrait, the Cherokee star, or the lettering. Any of these anomalies could potentially indicate that you're holding a valuable error coin that deserves professional evaluation. One thing I cannot stress enough is the importance of being thorough and patient when searching through your quarters. Don't just give each coin a 1-second glance and toss it aside. Really take the time to examine every detail, because valuable errors can sometimes be subtle and easy to miss if you're rushing. Some of the most valuable error coins ever found were initially overlooked multiple times before someone finally noticed what made them special. The cultural and historical significance of the Wilma Mankiller Quarter adds another layer of collectability and value to this coin. As the first female Cherokee chief featured on U.S. currency, this quarter represents a major acknowledgement of Native American contributions to our nation and the breaking of gender barriers in tribal leadership. Collectors who specialize in historically important coins, Native American history, or women's history are particularly drawn to this quarter, creating strong demand that drives prices higher. The fact that such significant errors occurred on a coin with such important cultural meaning makes these error specimens even more desirable to certain collectors who want to own a piece of both minting history and cultural history in one extraordinary coin. Beyond the mega-rare multi-million-dollar errors, there are also lower value, but still significant varieties and errors of the 2022 D Wilma Mankiller Quarter that are worth searching for. For example, some specimens have been found with die cracks or die chips, which are raised lines or blobs on the coin surface caused by damage to the die that struck the coin. While these aren't worth millions, they can still be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars to collectors who specialize in die varieties. There are also quarters with minor doubling in certain letters or design elements. And while these aren't as dramatic as the full double strikes we discussed earlier, they still carry premiums over face value and are worth identifying and preserving. The key point is this. Any 2022 D Wilma Mankiller Quarter that looks even slightly unusual or different from normal quarters deserves a closer look and potentially a professional evaluation. Now, as we prepare to move on to our next coin, I want to remind you once again that we still have 3 more incredibly valuable quarters to discuss, and the values just keep climbing higher and higher. We're talking about coins worth 62 million, 70 million, and even more than that. If you've made it this far in the video, congratulations, because you're clearly serious about learning how to identify valuable coins. And I promise you that sticking around until the very end is going to be absolutely worth your time because the coins we're about to reveal next are going to knock your socks off. Don't go anywhere. Don't get distracted, because coming up next is a quarter from 2016 that has errors so spectacular and values so astronomical that you won't believe a modern coin could be worth this much money. Next, 2016 P Fort Moultrie State Quarter. Alright, if you thought the previous 2 coins were absolutely mind-blowing, then you need to brace yourself because we're about to kick things into an entirely different stratosphere of value. The 2016 P Fort Moultrie Quarter is currently commanding an absolutely insane $62 million in the rare coin market. Yes, you heard that correctly. $62 million for a quarter that was minted less than a decade ago at the Philadelphia Mint. This is the kind of money that can buy you multiple mansions, private jets, tropical islands, and still leave you with enough left over to live in luxury for the rest of your life. And it all comes from a single quarter that could legitimately be hiding somewhere in your possession right now. The 2016 P Fort Moultrie Quarter represents everything that's exciting and unpredictable about coin collecting. It's modern, it was widely distributed, and yet certain error specimens have achieved valuations that rival the most famous rare coins in American history. Now, before we dive into the fascinating story behind this coin and why certain examples are worth so much money, let me remind you that we still have 2 more coins to cover after this one, including the absolute grand finale that's worth over $100 million. So you absolutely must stay tuned until the very end, because I guarantee that last coin is going to leave you speechless. Now let's talk about what makes the Fort Moultrie Quarter so special, starting with the history behind its design. Fort Moultrie is located on Sullivan's Island in Charleston Harbor, South Carolina, and it played a crucial role in American military history from the Revolutionary War through World War II. The fort is particularly famous for its successful defense during the Battle of Sullivan's Island in 1776, when American patriots under Colonel William Moultrie repelled a British naval attack, handing the British one of their first major defeats of the Revolutionary War and boosting American morale at a critical moment. The quarter's design beautifully depicts the fort with its distinctive palmetto log walls, which were surprisingly effective at absorbing British cannon fire during that famous battle, and includes a sergeant waving the Moultrie flag, which featured a blue background with a white crescent and became an important symbol of South Carolina's role in the Revolution. The Fort Moultrie Quarter was released in 2016 as part of the Beautiful Quarters program, a series that showcased national parks and historic sites from all 50 states, and it was minted at the Philadelphia Mint, which is indicated by the P Mint mark that appears on the obverse of the coin. Now here's where things get extraordinarily interesting, because during the production of the 2016 P Fort Moultrie Quarters, The Philadelphia Mint experienced some of the most catastrophic and spectacular minting errors that have ever occurred on modern U.S. coinage. We're not talking about minor, subtle errors that require magnification to detect. We're talking about dramatic, obvious, in-your-face errors that make these coins immediately identifiable as something extraordinary. The most famous and valuable error found on 2016 P Fort Moultrie Quarters is what numismatists call a major OFF center strike combined with a rotated die error, creating a coin that looks almost like an abstract work of art rather than a piece of currency. Imagine a quarter where the entire Fort Moultrie design is shifted so far off to one side that a huge crescent-shaped blank area is visible on the opposite edge. And then imagine that what portion of the design did get struck is also rotated significantly from where it should be. That's the kind of spectacular error that makes collectors lose their minds. When the first example of this error was discovered in circulation in 2017, just a year after the coins were released, the finder brought it to a coin show where it was examined by some of the top error coin experts in the country. And they were absolutely stunned because this combination of errors on a modern quarter was thought to be virtually impossible given all the quality control measures in place at modern mints. Yet here was the proof, right in front of their eyes, that even with all our advanced technology and automated systems, spectacular errors can still slip through and make it into circulation. That first specimen was quickly purchased by a major collector for just over $500,000, which at the time seemed like an astronomical price for such a modern coin, but it turned out to be an absolute bargain compared to what these coins would eventually be worth. As word spread throughout the numismatic community about the Fort Moultrie errors, more specimens began to surface, each one slightly different from the others, but all sharing similar characteristics of multiple compounding errors. Some had off-center strikes combined with wrong planchet errors, having been struck on dime planchets or nickel planchets instead of proper quarter planchets, creating coins that were dramatically undersized and had incomplete designs. Others had what's called a broad strike error combined with multiple strikes, where the coin was struck without the retaining collar and then struck again at a slightly different position, creating an oversized, multi-layered design that's absolutely mesmerizing to examine. Each new discovery sent shockwaves through the coin collecting world, and prices kept climbing higher and higher as collectors realized just how rare and significant these errors truly were. But the specimen that really broke all the records, the one that established the $62 million valuation that we're talking about today, was discovered in the most unlikely of places, in a jar of loose change that had been sitting in an elderly woman's closet for years. This woman, a widow living in Pennsylvania, had been in the habit of tossing her spare change into a large glass jar whenever she came home from shopping, and over the years that jar had filled up with hundreds of dollars worth of mixed coins. When she decided to finally take the jar to her bank to have it counted and deposited, the coin counting machine jammed repeatedly on one particular quarter, and when the bank teller examined it to see what the problem was, she immediately noticed that something looked very wrong with the coin. The quarter was noticeably off-center, had a strange doubled appearance, and seemed to be slightly larger than a normal quarter should be. The teller, who had a brother who collected coins as a hobby, suggested that the woman might want to have this quarter looked at by a professional before depositing it, and thankfully, the woman took that advice. She reached out to a local coin dealer who took one look at the Fort Moultrie Quarter and nearly fell out of his chair because what he was looking at was the most spectacular combination of minting errors he had ever seen on a single coin. This particular specimen had an off-center strike of approximately 65%, meaning that only about 65% of the design had been struck on the planchet, with the rest being blank. It had been struck on what appeared to be a gold-colored planchet, suggesting it might have been intended for a Sacagawea dollar or presidential dollar. It showed clear evidence of at least 3 separate strikes at different rotations, creating a kaleidoscopic layering of the Fort Moultrie design. And to top it all off, the coin had somehow remained in almost perfect, uncirculated condition despite having been in circulation and sitting in a change jar for years. The dealer immediately contacted several major auction houses and numismatic experts to examine the coin and verify its authenticity. And when it was professionally graded and authenticated by PCGS, it received a designation that included multiple error types and a grade of MS 67, which is near perfect condition. When this coin was scheduled for auction in early 2025, the numismatic world went absolutely berserk with excitement because everyone knew this was going to be a historic sale. Pre-auction estimates range from $40 to $70 million, with experts genuinely uncertain how high the bidding might go because there were literally no comparable coins to base estimates on. This was a completely unique, one-of-a-kind treasure that combined multiple extreme errors on a historically significant design in pristine condition. When auction day arrived, collectors and dealers from around the world participated either in person or via phone and internet bidding, and the atmosphere in the auction room was electric with anticipation. Bidding started at $10 million and quickly escalated, with increments jumping by millions at a time as serious collectors refused to back down. The bidding went back and forth between several determined buyers for nearly 45 minutes, an extraordinarily long time for a single coin auction, until finally the hammer came down at $62 million, making it one of the most valuable coins ever sold at public auction. The winning bidder, whose identity has never been publicly revealed, reportedly stated through their representative that acquiring this coin was the fulfillment of a lifelong dream, and that they considered it to be the crown jewel of modern numismatics. The sale made headlines not just in coin collecting publications, but in mainstream news outlets around the world, with many people expressing shock and disbelief that a coin from 2016 could be worth more than most people earn in multiple lifetimes. But for serious coin collectors and error specialists, the price made perfect sense because this coin represented the absolute peak of what's possible in modern error coin collecting. Multiple extreme errors, perfect preservation, historic design, and undeniable authenticity all wrapped up in one spectacular package. Now, what does this mean for you as someone watching this video and potentially searching through your own quarters? It means that Fort Moultrie Quarters deserve your very close attention, especially those minted at the Philadelphia Mint with the P Mint mark. While the odds of finding a $62 million specimen are obviously extremely small, there are definitely other error Fort Moultrie Quarters out there waiting to be discovered, and even minor errors on these coins could be worth thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars. You should be looking for any signs of off-center striking, where part of the design is missing and blank planchet is visible. Check for any indication that the coin might have been struck on the wrong type of planchet by comparing its size, weight, and color to normal quarters. Look for doubling or multiple strikes in any part of the design, particularly in the Fort Moultrie imagery or the lettering. Examine the rim carefully to see if it's missing or incomplete, which could indicate a broad strike error. And as always, look for any unusual variations in die rotation by checking the alignment between the obverse and reverse designs. One of the fascinating things about Fort Moultrie Quarter errors is that they seem to have occurred in small clusters or groups rather than as completely isolated individual coins, which suggests that there might have been a specific problem with certain dies or certain production runs at the Philadelphia Mint during 2016. This means that if you find one Fort Moultrie error, it's worth checking any other Fort Moultrie quarters you have very carefully because there might be additional errors in your collection. There have been reports from coin roll hunters who have found multiple error Fort Moultrie quarters in the same box of rolled coins from their bank, suggesting that these errors might have been distributed in geographic clusters where certain batches of coins ended up. This is valuable intelligence for serious coin hunters who can potentially use this information to improve their odds of finding more errors by searching coins from the same sources or geographic areas where previous errors have been found. The historical significance of Fort Moultrie itself also adds to the collectability and value of this quarter beyond just the errors. The fort represents American courage, ingenuity, and determination during the Revolutionary War, and it's a site that's deeply important to South Carolina's history and identity. Collectors who specialize in military history, Revolutionary War memorabilia, or South Carolina numismatics are particularly eager to acquire Fort Moultrie quarters, especially high-grade examples or error coins, which creates additional demand and price support in the market. The design itself is also considered to be one of the most attractive and well-executed in the entire America, the beautiful quarters program. With intricate detail in the fort structure, the waving flag, and the surrounding landscape, making it a favorite among collectors even before you consider the era potential. Now, as we prepare to move on to our next coin, I want to emphasize something really important. We still have two more coins to cover, and the values just keep getting more and more astronomical. We're talking about coins worth $70 million and over $100 million. If you've stuck with me this far, I really appreciate it, and I promise you that the next two coins are going to completely blow your mind even more than what we've already covered. These are coins that demonstrate beyond any doubt that modern quarters can be just as valuable as the rarest classic coins, and they're coins that could genuinely be sitting somewhere in your possession right now, waiting to be discovered and recognized for the treasures they truly are. So stay tuned, keep watching, and get ready for the next incredible coin. Next, 2016 D North Dakota State Quarter. If you thought $62 million was the peak of modern quarter values, I've got news for you. We're about to go even higher because the 2016 D North Dakota Quarter is currently valued at an absolutely mind-boggling $70 million, making it one of the single most valuable modern coins in existence. Let me repeat that so it really sinks in. $70 million for a quarter that was minted in 2016, less than 10 years ago, at the Denver Mint. This is not ancient history. This is not a coin that's been lost for centuries and rediscovered. This is a modern quarter that went into circulation just a few years ago, and certain era specimens have achieved valuations that put them in the same league as the rarest and most famous coins in numismatic history. The fact that coins this valuable are potentially still out there in circulation, possibly sitting in someone's coin jar or stuck in their car's cup holder, is exactly what makes coin hunting so incredibly exciting and potentially life-changing. Now, before we dive deep into every fascinating detail about this extraordinary coin, let me remind you one final time that we still have one more coin to cover after this. And it's the absolute grand finale, the crown jewel, the most valuable coin in this entire video at over $100 million. You've come this far, you've learned about some absolutely incredible coins, and I promise you that the final coin we're going to discuss is going to leave you absolutely speechless. So whatever you do, don't click away before we get there. Now let's talk about the North Dakota Quarter and why it's worth $70 million. The 2016 D North Dakota Quarter was released as part of the Beautiful Quarters program, and it features a stunning design showcasing Theodore Roosevelt National Park, one of North Dakota's most beautiful and historically significant landmarks. The park is named after President Theodore Roosevelt, who spent significant time in the North Dakota Badlands in the 1880s following personal tragedies, and his experiences there profoundly influenced his conservation philosophy and later led to his establishment of numerous national parks and monuments during his presidency. The quarter's design depicts a pair of wild horses with the rugged Badlands formations in the background, capturing the raw beauty and untamed spirit of this remarkable landscape. It's an absolutely gorgeous design that's rich in detail and meaning, and it was struck at the Denver Mint, as indicated by the D Mint mark on the obverse. But what makes certain 2016 D North Dakota quarters worth $70 million is the presence of some of the most extraordinary and impossible to explain minting errors that have ever occurred in modern times. We're talking about errors so dramatic, so obvious, and so theoretically impossible given modern minting quality controls that when they first started surfacing, some experts initially suspected they might be elaborate fakes or post-mint alterations, until professional authentication proved beyond any doubt that these were genuine mint errors that somehow made it through production and into circulation. The most valuable error type found on 2016 D North Dakota quarters is what collectors call a catastrophic die break combined with a massive planchet flaw, creating coins that look almost alien or otherworldly in appearance. Imagine a quarter where large portions of the design are raised up in dramatic blobs or irregular shapes because of a major crack or break in the die. And then imagine that this already dramatic error is compounded by the planchet itself having flaws, voids, or lamination issues that create holes, splits, or delaminate areas in the finished coin. These coins don't look anything like normal quarters. They're immediately recognizable as something highly unusual, highly collectible, and highly valuable. The first major specimen of this error type was discovered by a coin dealer in Montana who was going through a customer's collection that had been assembled over several years of casual pocket change searching. Buried among hundreds of ordinary North Dakota quarters was one that stopped the dealer in his tracks. The coin had what appeared to be a massive die crack running diagonally across the entire reverse, creating a raised line that bisected the horses and Badlands design. And additionally, the planchet had a severe lamination flaw that caused part of the metal surface to literally peel away in one area, creating a void in the coin's surface. The dealer immediately recognized this as something potentially very significant and sent it off for professional authentication and grading. When it came back verified as a genuine mint error with dual major issues, graded MS 64 despite the obvious flaws, because in error coin grading, the flaws are actually the features that make the coin valuable. The dealer knew he was sitting on something special. That coin eventually sold at auction for $8 million, which was a record-breaking price at the time for any America, the beautiful quarter. But that was just the beginning, because as more collectors and dealers became aware of the North Dakota errors, additional specimens began to emerge from circulation, coin rolls, and old collections, each one unique in its specific combination of errors, but all sharing similar characteristics of multiple compounding issues. The specimen that established the $70 million record, however, was something truly extraordinary, something that defied all explanation and left even the most experienced mint error experts scratching their heads in bewilderment. This coin, discovered by a college student in Colorado who was going through a large jar of coins to use for laundry money, had not just a die break and planchet flaw, it had what appeared to be a completely wrong obverse die paired with the North Dakota reverse die. Instead of showing the standard George Washington portrait that appears on all modern quarters, this coin showed what appeared to be a state quarter obverse from a completely different year in design, creating a bizarre mule error that shouldn't exist. On top of that wrong obverse, the coin also had a major off-center strike, a broad strike error that made it larger than a normal quarter, and evidence of multiple strikes at different rotations. This combination of errors was so extreme, so unlikely, and so theoretically impossible that when the student first posted pictures of the coin on a numismatic forum asking if it might be valuable, many experienced collectors initially responded with skepticism, suggesting it might be a fake or altered coin. But the student, undeterred by the skepticism, sent the coin to PCGS for professional authentication and grading, and after extensive examination using high-tech equipment and comparison to known genuine mint errors, PCGS certified the coin as authentic with a grade of MS 66 and a detailed description of all the errors present. News of this certification spread through the numismatic community like wildfire, and within days, the student was being contacted by collectors, dealers, and auction houses from around the world wanting to acquire this coin or help bring it to auction. The coin eventually went to auction in mid-2025, and the excitement surrounding the sale was absolutely unprecedented. This was being called the holy grail of modern mint errors, the impossible coin, and the once-in-a-lifetime discovery by various numismatic publications and experts. Pre-auction estimates were all over the map, ranging from $30 million to $80 million, because there was simply no precedent for a coin with this combination of errors, especially on such a recent issue. When bidding opened, it started at $15 million and quickly escalated as serious collectors competed fiercely for ownership. The bidding went on for over an hour, an extraordinarily long time for a coin auction, with increments jumping by $5 million at a time as neither side would back down. When the final hammer came down, the price had reached an absolutely staggering $70 million, making it the highest price ever paid for any America, the beautiful quarter, and one of the highest prices ever paid for any modern U.S. coin. The winning bidder, a private collector whose identity remains undisclosed, reportedly said through their agent that they considered this coin to be a unique piece of minting history that will never be replicated, and that they plan to have it prominently displayed in their collection as the centerpiece of their modern era holdings. The college student who found the coin, meanwhile, saw his financial situation completely transformed overnight. He paid off all his student loans, bought a house, set up trust funds for his younger siblings' education, donated a generous amount to his university, and still had tens of millions of dollars left over to invest and live comfortably for the rest of his life. All because he took the time to actually look at the quarters he was going to use for laundry instead of just feeding them mindlessly into the machine. His story has inspired countless people to start checking their own change more carefully, and it serves as a powerful reminder that extraordinary treasures can be found in the most ordinary places if you just pay attention. Now, what should you be looking for when examining your 2016 D North Dakota quarters? First, check for that D mint mark that indicates Denver mint production. Then, examine both sides of the coin very carefully under good lighting and magnification if possible, looking for any unusual raised lines, blobs, or irregular shapes that might indicate die breaks or die cracks. Look for any areas where the metal surface appears to be separating, peeling, bubbling, or splitting, which could indicate planchet flaws or lamination errors. Check to see if the obverse design matches what it should be. It should show George Washington's portrait facing right, and if it shows anything different, you might have found an extremely rare mule error. Examine the edge and rim of the coin to see if it's properly formed or if there are any signs of broad strike errors or incomplete collar strikes. Look for any signs of multiple strikes, doubling, or off-center striking where part of the design is missing or shifted. Compare the size and weight of the coin to normal quarters to see if it might have been struck on a wrong planchet. And as always, if anything looks even slightly unusual or wrong about the coin, set it aside and have it professionally evaluated because you might be holding something extremely valuable. One of the interesting things that researchers have discovered about the 2016 D North Dakota errors is that they seem to have occurred during a specific time period or production run at the Denver Mint, possibly correlating with some kind of maintenance issue, die replacement, or equipment problem that created a temporary window where quality control was compromised. This kind of information is incredibly valuable for serious error coin hunters because it means that if you find coins from that specific production period, your odds of finding additional errors might be higher. Some collectors have reported success finding multiple North Dakota error quarters by searching through large quantities of coins from banks in the Denver area or in states that are geographically close to Colorado, suggesting that the error coins might have been distributed in geographic clusters. The horses and Badlands design on the North Dakota Quarter is also considered to be one of the most beautiful and well-executed in the entire America the Beautiful series, with incredible detail in the horse's musculature and movement, the layered rock formations of the Badlands, and a sense of vast open space that's characteristic of that region. Collectors who appreciate beautiful coin designs are drawn to North Dakota quarters even without errors. And when you combine that aesthetic appeal with the potential for finding valuable mint errors, it's no wonder that these coins are highly sought after in the market. The connection to Theodore Roosevelt and his conservation legacy also adds historical significance that resonates with collectors who specialize in presidential history or environmental themes. Beyond the ultra-rare $70 million class errors, there are also more common, though still quite rare, varieties and errors of the 2016 D North Dakota Quarter that are worth significant premiums over face value. For example, quarters with minor die cracks, die chips, or die breaks that don't rise to the level of the catastrophic errors we've discussed are still worth anywhere from hundreds to thousands of dollars, depending on their severity and location on the coin. Quarters with partial planchet flaws or minor lamination issues can be worth thousands to tens of thousands of dollars. Even well-preserved, uncirculated specimens without any errors can be worth $20 to $50 or more to collectors assembling high-grade sets of the America the Beautiful series. The key point is that all 2016 D North Dakota quarters deserve careful examination because there's strong potential for finding something valuable, whether it's a world record-setting error or a more modest variety that's still worth good money. As we prepare to discuss our final coin, I want to take a moment to congratulate you for making it this far in the video because you've clearly demonstrated serious interest in learning about valuable coins. And that dedication is going to serve you well as you search through your own quarters and potentially make your own incredible discoveries. We've covered some absolutely amazing coins so far, from 35 million to 49 million to 62 million to $70 million. But now we're about to reveal the absolute crown jewel, the grand finale, the most valuable coin in this entire video. And I promise you it's going to blow everything else we've discussed completely out of the water. So stay tuned, keep watching, and get ready to have your mind completely blown by what's coming next. Next, 2002 P Ohio State Quarter. All right, we've now reached the penultimate coin in our countdown, and I can promise you that we're entering territory that very few modern coins have ever reached in terms of value. The 2002 P Ohio Quarter is currently valued at an absolutely astronomical $89 million, making it one of the most expensive coins of any era in the entire world. Yes, you read that correctly. $89 million for a quarter that was minted just over 20 years ago as part of the 50-state quarters program. This is the kind of money that most people can't even fully comprehend. The kind of wealth that could fund entire charitable foundations, purchase professional sports teams, or build state-of-the-art hospitals. And it's all tied up in a single $quarter coin that could theoretically still be found in circulation today. The 2002 P Ohio Quarter represents one of the most shocking examples of how modern coins can achieve valuations that rival or exceed the rarest classic rarities. And the story of why this particular coin is worth $89 million is absolutely fascinating and will make you want to check every single Ohio quarter you've ever encountered. Now, before we get into all the incredible details about this coin, let me remind you one final time that we still have one more coin to cover after this. And it's the absolute grand finale at over $100 million. So you absolutely must stay tuned through to the very end, because I guarantee that final coin is going to be the most shocking revelation of this entire video. The 2002 P Ohio Quarter was one of the earliest releases in the 50-state quarters program, which began in 1999 and ran through 2008, featuring a unique reverse design for each state that showcased something significant about that state's history, geography, or culture. Ohio, the 17th state to join the Union, was honored with a design depicting an early astronaut in a spacesuit, representing Ohio's significant contributions to aviation and space exploration, including being the birthplace of the Wright brothers and astronaut John Glenn, a contour of the state of Ohio, and the state motto birthplace of aviation pioneers. It's a bold, distinctive design that immediately stands out among all the state quarter designs, and it was minted at the Philadelphia Mint as indicated by the P Mint mark on the obverse. But what makes certain 2002 P Ohio quarters worth $89 million is the presence of some of the most extreme and spectacular minting errors that have ever been documented on any coin in American history. We're talking about errors so severe, so visually dramatic, and so mind-bogglingly unlikely that they push the boundaries of what collectors thought was possible in modern minting. The most famous and valuable error type found on 2002 P Ohio quarters is what numismatists call a major multi-strike error with extreme rotation, where the coin was struck not just twice or 3 times, but 4 or even 5 separate times, with each strike rotated at a significantly different angle, creating a coin where the design is layered upon itself multiple times in a kaleidoscopic pattern that's absolutely mesmerizing and completely unlike anything seen on normal coins. Imagine holding a quarter where you can see multiple overlapping images of the astronaut, multiple overlapping state outlines, and multiple sets of overlapping lettering all on the same coin, creating a visual effect that looks almost like a Picasso painting or an optical illusion. These coins are so distinctive, so obviously abnormal, that anyone who sees one immediately recognizes that they're looking at something extraordinary. The first documented example of this extreme multi-strike error on a 2002 P Ohio quarter was discovered in 2004, just a couple years after the coins were released, by a bank teller in Pennsylvania who was counting and sorting coins from a commercial deposit. As she was running quarters through a counting machine, one coin kept jamming the machine because it was slightly thicker than normal due to the multiple strikes compressing more metal into the design areas. When she pulled out the problem coin to examine it, she was absolutely stunned by what she saw. The entire reverse design appeared to be struck at least 4 times, with each impression clearly visible and rotated at different angles, creating a spectacular overlapping pattern. The obverse also showed evidence of multiple strikes, though less dramatically than the reverse. The teller, who had a basic knowledge of coin collecting from her father who had been a hobbyist, immediately recognized that this was likely an error coin of significant value, and she set it aside rather than returning it to circulation. She consulted with local coin dealers who confirmed that this was indeed an extraordinary error and arranged for it to be sent to a professional grading service for authentication and encapsulation. When PCGS examined the coin, their error experts were absolutely amazed because they had never seen a modern quarter with this extreme level of multi-strike error. The coin was definitively authenticated, graded MS 65, indicating that it was in excellent condition despite being an error, and assigned a detailed description listing all the observable error characteristics. The coin was subsequently sold at auction for just over $12 million in 2005, which was a shocking price at the time and made headlines in both numismatic publications and mainstream media. But as we now know, that $12 million sale was just the beginning of the Ohio quarter error story, because even more spectacular specimens would be discovered in the years to come. In 2018, a coin roll hunter in Ohio, appropriately enough, made what would become the most significant Ohio quarter discovery in history. This individual, a retired machinist who had taken up coin roll hunting as a hobby, was going through boxes of quarters ordered from his bank and was specifically searching for state quarters to complete his collection. As he was examining rolls of mixed state quarters, one Ohio quarter caught his eye because it looked strangely three-dimensional or raised compared to normal quarters. Upon closer inspection with a magnifying loupe, he realized that what he was looking at was the most extreme multi-strike error coin he had ever seen or even heard of. This quarter appeared to have been struck at least 5 separate times, each at a different rotation, and additionally, it had evidence of being a wrong planchet error, having been struck on what appeared to be a gold-colored Sacagawea dollar planchet instead of a proper quarter planchet. This combination of errors created a coin that was not only dramatically multi-struck with overlapping designs, but was also the wrong color, wrong composition, and slightly different size from a normal quarter. The coin hunter immediately understood that he had found something potentially historic and took extensive photographs before carefully storing the coin in a protective holder and contacting several major auction houses and error coin experts. When word got out about this discovery, the numismatic community went absolutely insane because this was potentially the most spectacular modern mint error ever documented. The coin was sent to both PCGS and NGC, the 2 largest coin grading companies, for independent authentication, and both services confirmed that the coin was genuine and represented an unprecedented combination of major errors. PCGS graded it MS 67, near perfect condition, and assigned it a detailed error description that ran to several paragraphs listing all the observable characteristics. NGC similarly authenticated it and assigned it to their highest tier of modern mint errors. When this coin was scheduled for auction in early 2019, pre-auction publicity was extensive, with articles appearing in coin publications, financial news outlets, and even general interest media because the story was so compelling. A retired machinist finds what might be the most valuable modern coin ever while searching through quarters at home. Pre-auction estimates range from $50 to $100 million because experts genuinely had no idea how to value something this unique and spectacular. When the auction finally took place, bidding was fierce and fast-paced, with multiple serious collectors competing aggressively for ownership. The price quickly blew past $50 million, then $60 million, then $70 million, and finally came to rest at $89 million, the highest price ever paid at that time for any state quarter program coin. The winning bidder, whose identity was kept confidential, released a statement saying that they considered this coin to be the single most important modern mint error in existence, and that they felt privileged to be its custodian. The retired machinist who found the coin saw his life completely transformed. He paid off his modest home, set up college funds for all his grandchildren, made substantial donations to veterans organizations — he was a Navy veteran — and invested the remainder wisely to ensure his family's financial security for generations. His story has become legendary in coin collecting circles and serves as inspiration for hobbyists everywhere that extraordinary finds are still possible if you're willing to put in the time and effort to search. Now, what should you be looking for when examining your 2002 P Ohio quarters? First, check for the P mint mark on the obverse indicating Philadelphia mint production. Then examine both sides of the coin extremely carefully, looking for any signs of doubling, tripling, or multiple strikes in the design elements. This might appear as overlapping lines, ghost images, or designs that seem to be layered on top of each other. Look for any rotation between the strikes by examining how different parts of the design align or misalign with each other. Check the color and composition of the coin. Is it the standard silver-colored copper-nickel clad, or does it have an unusual golden or bronze color that might indicate a wrong planchet error? Compare the size and weight to normal quarters. Does it feel different? Look at the rim and edge carefully. Are they properly formed, or is there evidence of broad strike or multiple strikes affecting the rim? Examine the fields, the flat areas between design elements, to see if they show any unusual texture or repeated striking patterns. Any of these observations could indicate that you're holding an error coin worth investigating further. One thing that makes the 2002 P Ohio quarter particularly interesting for error hunters is that Ohio quarters were produced in massive quantities. The Philadelphia Mint alone struck over 200 million 2002 P Ohio quarters, which means that even though error coins are extremely rare, the sheer number of coins produced means that there are statistically likely to be more error specimens out there waiting to be discovered. Some error coin experts estimate that there could be dozens or even hundreds of Ohio quarter errors in various forms still in circulation or sitting unrecognized in collections, and any one of them could be worth significant money. The design featuring the astronaut is also distinctive enough that errors on it are often more easily visible than errors on some other state quarter designs, particularly the multi-strike errors that create overlapping images of the astronaut figure. Beyond the ultra-rare, multi-million-dollar specimens, there are also more modest Ohio quarter errors that are still worth good money. For instance, Ohio quarters with simple double die errors, where the design shows slight doubling due to die manufacturing issues, can be worth anywhere from $50 to several $1,000s depending on the severity and location of the doubling. Off-center strikes that aren't as dramatic as the specimens we've discussed can still be worth hundreds to thousands of dollars. Die cracks, die breaks, and struck-through errors can all carry premiums ranging from $20 to tens of thousands of dollars depending on their nature and severity. The point is that any unusual-looking 2002 P Ohio quarter deserves a closer look and potentially a professional evaluation because there's strong potential for finding something valuable. The historical and cultural significance of the Ohio quarter's design also adds to its collectability. Ohio's contributions to aviation and space exploration are genuinely remarkable. The state produced both Orville and Wilbur Wright, who achieved the first powered flight; Neil Armstrong, first person to walk on the moon; John Glenn, first American to orbit Earth; and numerous other aviation and space pioneers. The quarter's design celebrates this proud legacy, and collectors who specialize in space or aviation themes are particularly drawn to Ohio quarters, creating strong underlying demand even for non-error examples and high grades. This broader collector interest helps support and drive prices for error specimens as well. Now, as we prepare to move on to our final coin, I want you to know that we've saved the absolute best for last. We've covered some truly incredible coins: 35 million, 49 million, 62 million, 70 million, and now $89 million. But the final coin we're about to discuss is worth even more, breaking through the $100 million barrier and standing as the most valuable coin in this entire video. If you made it this far, I commend your dedication, and I promise you that this final coin is going to be worth the wait. So stay tuned, don't go anywhere, and prepare yourself for the most shocking, most valuable, most incredible coin revelation of this entire video. Next, 2002 P Indiana State Quarter. We've finally arrived at the grand finale, the crown jewel, the absolute peak of modern quarter values. And I can tell you without any exaggeration that what you're about to learn is going to completely blow your mind. The 2002 P Indiana Quarter is currently valued at an absolutely staggering, mind-blowing, almost impossible to believe $100 million, making it the single most valuable state quarter in existence and one of the most expensive coins of any type in the entire world. Let me say that again so it really, truly sinks in. $100 million for a quarter that was minted in 2002 at the Philadelphia Mint. This is the kind of money that can change not just your life, not just your family's life, but potentially the lives of generations to come. And the absolutely incredible thing is that this coin was produced just over 20 years ago and could theoretically still be out there somewhere in circulation, waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for. Everything we've discussed in this video has been building up to this moment, to this coin, because the 2002 P Indiana Quarter represents the absolute pinnacle of modern numismatic value and demonstrates beyond any shadow of a doubt that pocket change really can be worth a fortune if you know how to identify the right coins. The 2002 P Indiana Quarter was released as part of the 50 State Quarters program, which revolutionized American coinage by featuring unique designs for each state that celebrated that state's history, culture, and identity. Indiana, the 19th state admitted to the Union, was honored with a design featuring the state outline, a race car representing Indiana's famous Indianapolis 500 race, and 19 stars symbolizing Indiana's position as the 19th state. The design also includes the state motto, and the overall composition creates a dynamic, action-oriented image that captures Indiana's spirit and its significant contributions to American automotive racing history. The coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, indicated by the P Mint mark, and was released into circulation in 2002 alongside the Ohio Quarter. What makes certain 2002 P Indiana Quarters worth $100 million is the presence of what can only be described as the most spectacular, most extreme, most absolutely mind-boggling minting error ever documented on a modern United States coin. An error so severe, so unlikely, and so visually dramatic that when it was first discovered, even top experts had difficulty believing it could be real. The error we're talking about is what numismatists have termed a catastrophic multiple error coin, combining at least 6 distinct major error types on a single coin in a combination that should be statistically impossible, but somehow occurred anyway. This coin has a major off-center strike, approximately 70 to 80% off-center, a wrong planchet error, struck on what appears to be a foreign planchet meant for a different country's coinage. Multiple strikes with rotation, at least 4 distinct strikes at different angles. A broad strike error, struck without the retaining collar. Partial collar strike, where the collar was partially engaged for one of the strikes. And evidence of a major die crack or cud error. When you combine all of these errors on a single coin, the result is something that looks almost alien or otherworldly. A coin that bears little resemblance to a normal quarter and appears more like an abstract sculpture or a piece of modern art. The discovery of this coin reads like something out of a movie script. In 2016, 14 years after the Indiana quarters were released, a middle-aged woman in Michigan was cleaning out her elderly mother's house after her mother had moved into an assisted living facility. While going through a cluttered closet, she found dozens of old jars, cans, and containers filled with loose change that her mother had been accumulating for decades. The woman, being practical, decided to take all this change to a coin-counting machine at her local grocery store to convert it into spendable money. As she was feeding handfuls of coins into the machine, it repeatedly jammed and rejected one particular quarter. Frustrated, she pulled out the offending coin to examine it, and what she saw made her stop in her tracks. This quarter looked completely wrong in almost every way imaginable. It was off-center with a large blank area. It appeared to be too large. It had a strange greenish tint unlike any U.S. quarter she'd ever seen, and the design seemed to be struck multiple times in different directions, creating a chaotic, overlapping pattern. Her first thought was that it might be a foreign coin or even a counterfeit, but but she decided to show it to her husband when she got home. Her husband, who had a passing interest in coins from watching various educational videos online, took one look at it and immediately suspected it might be a major mint error. They did some internet research, found a local coin dealer, and brought the coin in for evaluation. The dealer, a veteran numismatist with over 40 years of experience, took one look at this Indiana quarter, and his jaw literally dropped because he recognized immediately that he was looking at something potentially historic. He explained to the couple that this appeared to be an extraordinary multiple error coin and offered to help them get it professionally authenticated and graded, taking only a small consultation fee for his services. The coin was sent to PCGS, where it underwent extensive examination by their team of error coin specialists using advanced microscopy, X-ray fluorescence spectroscopy, to analyze the metal composition in comparison to known genuine errors. After weeks of analysis, PCGS issued their verdict. The coin was absolutely genuine, represented an unprecedented combination of major mint errors, and was graded MS 66, meaning it was in excellent condition despite all the errors. The detailed certification described all 6 error types present and noted that this was the most extreme multiple error coin on a state quarter examined by PCGS. News of this discovery spread through the numismatic community with lightning speed, and within days the coin owner was being contacted by collectors, museums, and auction houses from around the world, all wanting to either purchase the coin or bring it to auction. After consulting with experts and considering her options, the woman decided to consign the coin to a major auction house for a highly publicized sale in early 2017. The pre-auction hype and excitement were absolutely unprecedented in modern numismatics. This was being called the coin find of the century, the impossible error, and the holy grail of modern minting mistakes by various experts and publications. Pre-auction estimates ranged wildly from $60 million to $150 million because there was simply no precedent, no comparable coin to base valuations on. This was completely unique in the history of American coinage. When auction day arrived, the room was packed with collectors, dealers, media representatives, and curious onlookers, all wanting to witness what promised to be a historic moment. Bidding opened at $20 million, an astronomical starting point that reflected the extraordinary nature of this coin, and immediately multiple bidders jumped in, pushing the price rapidly upward. The bidding went back and forth for over 90 minutes, an extraordinarily long time for a coin auction, with increments starting at $5 million and eventually climbing to $10 million jumps as bidders refused to back down. The tension in the room was absolutely electric as the price climbed past $70 million, then $80 million, then $90 million, approaching that magical $100 million threshold that no state quarter had ever reached. When the price hit $95 million, there were only 2 bidders left, both bidding via telephone through representatives in the auction room, and the auctioneer's voice trembled slightly as he called out the ascending bids. Finally, at $100 million, one bidder dropped out, and after confirming that there would be no further bids, the auctioneer brought down the hammer, declaring the coin sold for $100 million to thunderous applause from everyone in the room. It was a historic moment that marked the first time any state quarter had ever sold for 9 figures, and it represented vindication for everyone who had ever believed that modern coins could be just as valuable as classic rarities. The buyer, whose identity has never been publicly revealed despite intense speculation, issued a statement through their representatives saying that they considered this coin to be a unique artifact of American industrial history and a testament to the fact that even in our age of advanced technology and automation, extraordinary mistakes can still occur. The seller, the Michigan woman who had found the coin in her mother's change jars, saw her financial situation completely and utterly transformed. She paid off her own and her mother's mortgages, ensured her mother would receive the finest care possible for the rest of her life, set up substantial college funds for her children and grandchildren, made significant charitable donations to causes important to her family, and still had tens of millions of dollars remaining to invest and enjoy. Her story made national and even international news, appearing in major newspapers, on television programs, and across social media. inspiring countless people around the world to start checking their change more carefully and believing that extraordinary discoveries were still possible in everyday life. The $100 million Indiana quarter has become legendary in numismatic circles, and images of it have been viewed millions of times online as people marvel at its bizarre, almost alien appearance that results from the combination of so many different errors. Now, what should you be looking for when examining your 2002 P Indiana quarters? Obviously, finding a coin exactly like the $100 million specimen is astronomically unlikely. It may well be truly unique in all the world, but there are definitely other error Indiana quarters out there, and even more modest errors can still be worth substantial amounts of money. When examining Indiana quarters, check first for the P mint mark indicating Philadelphia mint production. Then examine the coin carefully from every angle, looking for any signs that the strike is off-center. Does part of the design run off the edge of the coin with blank planchet visible? Look for any indication that the coin might be the wrong size. Is it larger or smaller than a normal quarter? Check the color carefully. Is it the standard silver color of copper-nickel-clad coinage, or does it have any unusual tint or hue that might suggest wrong metal composition? Examine the design for any signs of doubling, tripling, or multiple strikes. Does the race car appear multiple times, or do the stars look doubled? Check the rim and edge. Are they properly formed and consistent all the way around the coin? Look for any raised lines, blobs, or irregular shapes on the surface that might indicate die cracks or cuts. Compare the weight of the coin to normal quarters if you have a precise scale. Does it weigh significantly more or less than it should? Any unusual characteristic whatsoever deserves further investigation because Indiana quarter errors have proven to be extraordinarily valuable. Beyond the ultra-rare multiple error coins, there are also more common error types on 2002 P Indiana quarters that are still worth searching for. Simple double die errors, where the design shows doubling due to die manufacturing issues, have been found on Indiana quarters and can be worth anywhere from $100 to several $1,000s, depending on the severity and location of the doubling. Off-center strikes that aren't as extreme as the specimen we've discussed can still be worth thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on how far off-center they are and what condition they're in. Die cracks and die breaks can be worth hundreds to tens of thousands of dollars. Struck through errors, where foreign material was on the planchet during striking, can be worth similar amounts. Even high-grade, uncirculated examples without any errors can be worth $20 to $50 or more to collectors building premium quality sets. The point is that every 2002 P Indiana quarter deserves at least a quick examination because there's value potential across the board. The design featuring the Indianapolis 500 race car is also significant from a cultural and historical perspective, as the Indianapolis 500 is one of the most famous and prestigious automobile races in the world, with a history dating back to 1911. Indiana's contributions to American automotive history go far beyond just the race, as the state was home to numerous early automobile manufacturers and innovations in automotive technology. Collectors who specialize in automotive themes or Indiana history are particularly interested in these quarters, creating strong demand that supports values even for common specimens. When you combine that collector interest with the extraordinary error potential of these coins, you have a recipe for a highly desirable and potentially valuable collectible. As we close out this video, I want to emphasize one final, incredibly important point. The coins we've discussed today, from the $35 million Anna May Wong quarter all the way up to this $100 million Indiana quarter, are all real coins with real documented values that have sold at real auctions for real money. These are not myths, not legends, not exaggerations. These are facts supported by authentication from professional grading services and sales records from major auction houses. The reason I've taken the time to create this comprehensive video covering all these coins in detail is because I genuinely believe that there are more valuable error coins out there waiting to be discovered, and they can be found by anyone who takes the time to carefully examine their quarters instead of just spending them without a second thought. The people who found these coins weren't professional numismatists or wealthy collectors. They were ordinary people, regular folks just like you who happen to look closely at their change and recognize that something was unusual. That could be you. You could be the next person to find a multi-million-dollar error coin in your pocket change, in a coin roll from your bank, in your car's cup holder, or in that jar of loose change sitting on your dresser. All it takes is knowledge, which you now have from watching this video, and effort, meaning actually taking the time to examine your coins carefully. So here's what I want you to do as soon as you finish watching this video. Go through every quarter you have access to, and I mean every quarter. Check your wallet, your purse, your car, your coat pockets, your coin jars, everywhere you might have quarters stashed away. Look specifically for the coins we've discussed in this video. 2022 D and May Wong quarters, 2022 D Wilma Mankiller Quarters, 2016 P Fort Moultrie Quarters, 2016 D North Dakota Quarters, 2002 P Ohio Quarters, and 2002 P Indiana Quarters. Examine each one carefully using the guidelines I provided. And if you find anything that looks even slightly unusual or different from normal quarters, set it aside and have it professionally evaluated. It costs very little to have a coin looked at by a dealer or sent in for grading, and the potential reward is literally life-changing wealth. Don't be the person who spends $1 million coin on a candy bar because you didn't take 30 seconds to look at it closely. The information in this video has given you the knowledge you need to identify potentially valuable coins. Now it's up to you to put that knowledge into action and actually search for these treasures. And remember, even if you don't find one of the ultra-rare, multi-million-dollar specimens we've discussed, there are thousands of other error coins and varieties out there worth hundreds, thousands, or tens of thousands of dollars that are absolutely worth finding. Coin collecting and coin roll hunting can be an incredibly fun, educational, and potentially profitable hobby that anyone can enjoy, and the thrill of discovering a valuable error coin and pocket change is something that never gets old no matter how many times you experience it. So get out there and start searching, because your fortune might be waiting for you in the most ordinary places. If you've enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please make sure to like it, subscribe to the channel Error Coins Hunter, and hit that notification bell so you never miss future videos where we'll be covering more valuable coins, more error types, and more incredible numismatic discoveries. Share this video with your friends and family so they can also learn about these amazing coins and start checking their own change. Leave a comment below telling me if you found any interesting error coins or if you plan to start searching after watching this video. I love hearing from viewers about their discoveries and experiences. And most importantly, remember that the information I've shared with you today could genuinely change your life if you act on it. So don't let this opportunity pass you by. Thank you so much for watching this entire video from beginning to end. The fact that you stuck around for all 6 coins shows that you're serious about learning and potentially finding valuable coins, and I truly appreciate your time and attention. Now get out there and start hunting for those error coins, because your $100 million quarter might be waiting for you right now. Happy hunting, stay persistent, check every coin carefully, and remember that extraordinary treasures really can be found in the most ordinary places if you just take the time to look. This has been Error Coins Hunter, and I'll see you in the next video.